Got it. Good afternoon. Hi there, Facebook world and the world of WISE. This is Barb Stone with the WISE Women's Business Center, and we're really glad to have you here today for this amazing topic and an amazing guest speaker, Jen Liddy. So today we're going to be talking a lot about time management, because we, as business entrepreneurs, we need to think about taking care of everything. And we think we can take care of everything. We think we can take care of the home, house, family, and ourselves and our business. So I'm really glad to have Jen here. So just a quick little commercial. We are the WISE Center, and we are here to help serve you as you are trying to develop your business and putting it out in the world. So we do that by one-on-one counseling. You can do that by signing up for different classes, different networking. And we are currently running a business plan intensive, but most importantly, if you're thinking about starting a business, Jen runs a wonderful cohort of cohort. It's a class, and we're doing it regularly. It's building blocks for small businesses, and it's all focused around you, the woman entrepreneur. And it's a great course. If you haven't taken it, please take a look at it, because she goes into the needs and targets. So with that, I just want to be able to tell you that this is your power hour, and please put your questions in the chat, or if you're on Facebook, please put them in there. Carolyn will transfer them to the chat so that we can get that, and Jen can help you get the clarity that you need to be able to do more time management in your life. So with that, thank you, Jen, for being here. So
my pleasure.
I'm going to just do the brief introduction and allow you to do it. So Jen has been a teacher, an English teacher. She's been a professor. She has created businesses, and she's learned as she goes along the way. And now she has her own Jen Liddy consulting, coaching. She's a business development and coach, and really will help you be able to put that good work out in the world in so many different ways. But with that, Jen, I'll let you elaborate on that.
I will take it over. Thanks, Barb. Thanks, WISE, for having me. Hi to everybody who's on the call and anybody who might be watching this in the recording. Time is really our most precious and valuable commodity, but it just like slips through our fingers all the time. So today we're going to talk about some realistic strategies for you. And what I would love to know, and I know this isn't like interactive personally, but I would love to know, what is your biggest frustration with quote unquote managing your time? You know, I'd love to know how you feel about time management. So there's lots of different ways I can ask this question. What is your frustration with time management? How do you feel about time? What do you wish you had in terms of time? So if you could take a moment to put your questions into the chat, I want you to know I will answer every question. You're going to have some tactical questions today, like how do you deal with X, Y, and Z? And I will address all of those things. Before we get started, I just want to introduce myself. Like Barb said, I am a former English teacher. I taught high school for like 150 years, and then I taught at the college level, and then I started my own business with two colleagues, two partners. We had a brick and mortar fitness studio, and man, there's nothing scarier than leaving a job where you get a paycheck every 2 weeks and you have benefits to making this huge, gigantic leap into entrepreneurship. And you have to freaking learn it all as you go. And so I always like to say, I learned it from the inside, how to do entrepreneurship. And I made like every mistake possible, even though I would like to say that my husband, who is an entrepreneur and has been an entrepreneur for years and has a successful business, I refused to listen to anything he said. And so I just kept making mistakes and making mistakes. So when I'm talking to you about this stuff, I really am talking to you from a place of like, I've been there, I've done it, I've burned out, I've come back, I've burned out again. So the people who work with me now, my name is Jen Liddy, and I own a business called Jen Liddy Coaching and Development. And I really specialize in helping women entrepreneurs put content out into the world in a way that feels good for them, not like a yucky formulaic way that we've been taught by marketing gurus. And one of the big issues, no matter what part of your business you're working on, is how the hell do I find the time to do this? And I guess I would like to start today out by saying, like, we just actually don't find the time. We have to learn how to create it. And we do this thing where we talk about like managing our time. And I promise you today, I'm not going to talk about getting a new calendar and that you have to have a perfect planner, because the women who tend to work with me, and actually women who tend to go into entrepreneurship, are incredibly creative. You know, they spend a lot of time in the ethers and their heads are spinning around with idea after idea after idea. And so that the way that like a lot of us have been taught to manage our time doesn't work for a lot of creative entrepreneurs. And so what I'm going to talk to you today about are 4 things that we can really do that are very realistic, that you can do no matter how creative you are, how much you hate planning, how much it hasn't worked for you in the past. And these are the things that I talk to my clients about all the time. We have to do it in a way that works for you. So the first thing I would love for you to do is to let go of the belief that your time should look like anybody else's time, right? That it should, your calendar should look like somebody else's calendar, or the way that you do business should look. So let's stop shooting all over ourselves first. And let's get into talking about the 4 things today that I think can really help you harness your time. So I'm going to just start by saying this. We talk about managing time. And what we really need to manage is ourselves. And even in the comments, I'm seeing like, how do we deal with interruptions? I'm going to talk about that. And it's really about how we manage ourselves versus how we manage external things that happen to us. So first of all, I always say the most important thing we can do at any time for time management is to reverse engineer everything. And that starts with us asking the question, what's the point of doing this thing? And that really helps us be incredibly intentional. And I'm going to give you a very specific example. I'm going to give you a business example, and then I'm going to give you a life example. I was talking to a friend the other day, and she said, I really want to put a course out there. She's a nutritionist, and she wants to create a course so that she can serve more people. And I said, okay, what's the point of you putting the course out there? And she said, I'm tired of like working one-to-one with people, and I want to scale my business. So I feel like a course would be a way to meet more people, help more people, serve more people, and kind of leverage my business. That's her thinking in advance, like, okay, what's the purpose of putting this course out there? At the same conversation, she said she got invited to speak to some kids, elementary kids and their parents at a local event, and that she had to prepare for it, and it was going to take up a bunch of her time. And I said, what's the purpose behind you going to speak? If you don't want more one-to-one clients and you want to work on your course, and she also didn't want to work with children. She wanted to work with a very specific population of adults who have a very specific need in the marketplace. So I'm like, why would you spend time going to talk to elementary kids and parents? And these are the types of things like we don't think about, because we are usually very heart-centered. We're usually very, we're sensitive. We want to give, we want to help. That's why we're in our business anyway. So we often kind of have this knee-jerk thing of saying yes to everything. And if you don't understand how that thing is going to actually serve a purpose, without lying to yourself, without telling yourself a story that like, oh, I should, or it will look good, or it will make me feel good. Like if you can't really pinpoint why you're doing the thing, then you're not being intentional. So the very first thing is reverse engineer whatever it is. So I gave you 2 examples from a business perspective, but we can actually talk about this from like a real life perspective, because how many times do you have a gigantic list of things to do and you just start attacking them, right? You're like kind of like say you had a bunch of errands all over town. And if you just took a moment to reverse engineer where everything was in town, like I find myself sometimes, and maybe you do this too, especially in Syracuse, you're like, okay, I'm going to go to Wegmans Intuit, then I have to go to then I have to pick up my kid, and then I have to go to the gym, and I have to go here. And I do a lot of this stuff, and it's a huge time waster. But if I had just spent a few moments like reverse engineering, where am I going? What do I have to do? How could I have saved time between like trying to get all over the place? Like, how often do you do that? And I'm wondering if this is resonating with any of you, because if the number one thing is reverse engineering and we're highly creative and we're always in the buzz, we're generally not taking a minute to go,
Yeah.
why am I even doing this? What's the point, right? Barb, does that resonate with you?
Oh my gosh, as you're talking about that, I'm always thinking, like, for my life, I came out of manufacturing. So it's always like, how can you lean up the process?
Yeah.
Because you really want to take the waste out of there. You're taking the non-value added activity. Is it really serving you? Is it doing it? So I'm always thinking about, how can I streamline a process? So I love that analogy as you're going all the way around town, that, you can really, even today I was walking into the dining room and I'm thinking I got to do this, this, and this. And I go like, oh, wait a second, let me bring this and do that. So just so I can streamline it, because my time is valuable. As your time is valuable, as everybody else on this call, their time is valuable.
Yes. And so if you want to put into the chat how this is resonating with you, does this make sense? So I call it reverse engineering. You might not like that term. That term might feel too like weird for your super creative brain. You might like the term like being intentional, or what's my why? That's a really basic way to put it. And so anytime you're getting sucked into something, what's your why? You can even think about this in terms of nighttime when you're like, look, I'm going to binge watch something here. And I know I'm going to sit for this for 4 or 5 episodes in a row. And again, ask yourself, what's your why? It could be like, I need some downtime. I need to turn my brain off. I need my family to know that this is my time. That's your why. You're being intentional. So I promise you, the more intentional you can be about this stuff, you will feel much better about harnessing your time. So are there any questions about that? Because you can put them in the chat. I saw a question, it actually came to me directly, but you guys can message to everyone in the chat. We'll talk about, so one of the questions is getting organized in the morning and how to deal with interruptions. So, okay, I will talk about that later. But if there's anything that you want to give me a feedback on in terms of this purposeful, intentional reverse engineering approach, does it resonate with you? Could that be helpful? Do you already do this? I'm just curious how many people are really like thinking about their purpose.
Well, I'm going to pick up on your word that you use, intentional, and then also creativity. Because you really, and also the person that asked you the question, it's like, for me, it's like, when I get up in the morning, one of the things I really need to do is I really need to set my intentions for the day. And that is really starting to, that planning of your day. And there's going to be interruptions and it's going to happen, but it's, what do you want to put out in front of you? What do you want to put your intentions on to really to move forward? I love that word, Jen.
Yeah, I think that helps me a lot, because I think about intention all the time. Like one of the big time wasters for entrepreneurs is social media, because it's an easy thing for us to say, oh, I'm doing social media and it counts as marketing. But then you can get sucked into some kind of rabbit hole where you're in the vortex, and maybe you're in a Facebook group and that's your way of connecting with other people. So this is a great place to use intentionality. Like, I'm going on Facebook because I want to go into this big group and I want to ask a big question and I want to connect with some other people. And I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes, but my intention is to get this question out there and answered, right? And just that intentionality shifts your energy so much, and it doesn't then feel like a waste of time.
But I think also the example that you used earlier about this person who was a nutritionist who came to you about, it's like, so she was going to go out and speak. What was the intention of doing that? And what was she looking to really gain? Because her time and everyone's time is really, really precious. And it's like, Was it going to get clients? Was it going to build the online training program? What was the intention of doing that? So that word is so powerful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And when I asked her about it, because I said, okay, you're telling me you don't want to grow your one-to-one, so why would you go do this? She got quiet for a minute.
Mhm.
And then she said, actually, I think I want to do it because it's a almost like a good community. Like she wanted to give back to her community.
Mm.
And if that feels really good to you and it feels in alignment with you, then you're not wasting your time and it won't feel like a time suck. So yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So then Barb, you actually, and based on a question in the chat about the morning routine, the second thing after you set your intention is this really simple thing that I find most people don't do, which is just to look at the day and the week ahead.
Mhm.
And the power of this is incredible, but for some of us, we avoid it. And my clients especially avoid it. I ask my clients every Sunday to take a look at their calendar for what's coming down the pike for them. Like what's actually happening on Monday, and then what do I need to be prepared for the rest of the week? And they tend to avoid doing this because what happens is they open up that calendar and they immediately like, oh, they get seized with the overwhelm of all the crap they have to deal with.
Yeah.
And I like to point out that like the week is going to happen to you, whether you look at your calendar or not, and you're going to be responsible for all those things, whether you look at your calendar or not. And honestly, looking at your calendar, it gives you more control. And then it doesn't feel like the week is happening to you. You're like, okay, that's a lot. What do I need to like just mentally be prepared for?
Yeah, I love that. It's not to you, but you can control that week, instead of.
Approach it knowing, okay, right, this is happening, and right, I need to be ready for this, or just like kind of get it into your head. I am always surprised at my clients who think that somehow by not looking at their calendar it will ease the pain of everything they have coming on. The other benefit of looking at your calendar ahead of time, a day, like I look at my calendar like, okay, what's going to happen tomorrow? And then what's happening for the entire week. The other thing about that is, and this is a little bit advanced, but everybody can do it. I ask myself, is there somebody else who can do this for me? Or is this something that I really need to do? That second question actually takes me back to that intentionality, purpose, and reverse engineering. Because sometimes I have stuff on my calendar, I'm like, I don't really need this. Like, this is BS stuff that I put on my shoulders because I should be doing it. So sometimes I find the looking ahead gives me some freedom in, oh yeah, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just taking that right off my list.
One of the points you just made, Jen, is like you take a look at the calendar and it's like, is that thing really filling me? Or is there somebody else that I can get the help to do that thing? Because then that frees you up to do the things that are really your purpose, your why, and get the help to offload some of the things that just don't feed you or fill you.
And I want to go back to this question that's in the chat, which I know nobody can see, but it did come to me directly. It said, how to get organized in the mornings. So this is a great place to talk about this. So if you know, first of all, the day before what tomorrow looks like, and you know what your morning is it crunchy? Is it expansive? Do you have the time? Do you have the space? First of all, you now know what's happening going into the morning. The other thing I really want to talk about in terms of setting up a morning so that your day goes smoothly is I had a client once who wanted to do an hour of meditation, an hour of working out, journaling, and reading. And she was insistent that all of those things needed to be an hour. And it was like, she was like completely unreasonable with herself. And so I said, well, I guess you're going to have to get up at 3:00 in the morning if you've got all these rules around what your morning routine is supposed to look like. And I keep realizing, like, I keep doing the should and the supposed to, because this is why our time goes away, because we should all over ourselves. So what are the most important things for you in the morning? Are they filling you up? Personally, my brain wakes up and just wants to write, like it's my most creative time. But also, if I don't do my meditation, and I don't get my physical movement in the morning, it never happens. So somehow I had to negotiate with my brain that these three things had to happen. So what does it look like realistically? I literally give myself a half an hour to write. And then I'm not a great meditator, but I will do 3 to 5 minutes. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a difference. And then the working out, I do that from 7 to 8, which is, so I can literally wake up at 6, which seems reasonable to me, and get it all done. So I guess, again, this is like, what's reasonable to you, what's intentional and filling you up, and have you looked ahead to plan that? Like, so if you've got these 3 things on your list and it's going to take you an hour, have you just carved that in for tomorrow morning? Does that resonate, Barb?
Resonates so much. I'm similar. I don't get up and write, but I have to do my meditation and I have to do my stretching exercises. And if I don't do that, my day is not set right. And then from there, I'll do a little reading. And then, yes, I look at my calendar because I need to really intentionally map it out. Where do I need to go? And it's also the reverse engineering. What's my flow going to
Yeah.
look like for the day? And then I can mentally, it kind of gets in my brain, and it will go so much more seamlessly, as opposed to, oh my gosh, look at this day. It's going to be a nightmare. No, I know I can manage it by really getting into it and intentionally looking at it. It makes a big difference.
Well, you're using words that I think are powerful, because back in the day, before I really understood how to do this, I would be using words like, I'm so busy. This day is going to mow me over. This day is hellish. This week is awful. This is a nightmare. I remember being in the car, and back when everything was in person, I would be driving and like white knuckling it, looking outside and then looking at the clock. Shit,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make it. And I wonder if anybody else on the call has had that experience. And the thing is, just some of the words that you were saying, Barb, like, I've got this, it will be okay, I can handle this. I know that it seems a little trite, but it really is a rewiring of our subconscious to understand that we are driving the bus, and that, you've got this, you can handle it. It might feel like a lot, and I can handle it. Those shifts will really change your energy. There's one other thing I think would be helpful to add here, based on a question I got in the chat, which is, how do you deal with interruptions? Because you can have the most beautiful calendar laid out for you, but if a partner or a boss or your children or just somebody in the world interrupts you, how do you maintain that flow that Barb mentioned? And again, I think this is a lot of mind management and communication that I think women, especially women entrepreneurs, because they're so heart-centered, they want to take care of everybody. And so they're the last thing that gets put on the list, or their stuff is the first stuff that comes off the list. So this piece of managing interruptions requires practice. And it's almost like building a muscle of saying, like, this is setting expectations. Like, this is my time. This is my morning routine. I want you to know that I'll be drinking coffee from 6 to 6:15. And I know that, you're going to be awake too, but like, this is my time and I just need this time. And I know that that might sound trite to you if you've never done that before, but it really is like the setting expectations. And I used to have a client who, she was an executive, and she just felt like people were in her office all day long. And so what we did was I asked her to close her door and put a sticky note to communicate with people, like unavailable or working on a project from 2 to 2:30, just so that she could have some of that time. And I know that I might be saying this to you and you're rolling your eyes, you're thinking like, that's ridiculous. But really, the more that we train people to understand, like, they can't interrupt us or it's not okay. Obviously, if you have little kids, this is hard. But we have to train people to understand how to respect our boundaries. And you can look ahead, you can plan, but until you train people to respect your boundaries, none of it will change. So it's kind of like, and I don't say this lightly, it's kind of like training a dog or training a small child to respect the boundaries that you have around your calendar.
I love building muscle.
Yeah.
You said that. It just kind of like, Yeah, it's almost like, again, it goes through the neural pathways or whatever, but you're building muscle to really be able to take care of the thing that you need to do for yourself, because you can't take care of everything else until you take care of yourself.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really interesting besides external interruptions from having boundaries, like kind of say we have like kind of holy boundaries, like fuzzy boundaries. The other thing that we often do that steals our time is we have crappy boundaries with ourselves. Like we say, oh, I'm just going to get on Instagram for 30 minutes to do some hashtag research. And then the next thing we know, an hour and a half will have gone by. Or we say, I'm only going to check email twice a day. But in those moments where we're like, what am I supposed to be doing again? Oh, let me check email. There's going to be a to-do thing in email. And so we wind up cheating on ourselves. So again, it's like building that boundary with ourselves, building the muscle to be like, this is my intention. This is my purpose. This is what I'm doing. And this, I put it on the calendar for this amount of time. So that is one of my secret strategies for managing my time and harnessing my time, is like just getting it on the calendar and giving it a certain amount of time to do.
Great advice. So, we talked about the looking ahead, which is
Yep.
getting your clients to really look at their schedule on Sunday and at least, looking for that next week and how do they need to plan. But what would you end up suggesting as being another technique that might help people in their time management?
Well, I will tell you what I'm about to say. Highly creative women rage against this, but it actually, once they learn how to do it, it's super time saving, and it's batching tasks. I'm going to give you a really simple example of this. So every morning, I like to eat this shake, and it's pretty simple, but it's got like all these pieces and parts to it. Like I put the shake stuff, and then I put the chia seeds, and then I put this other stuff in it. And then then adding in like the ice and the banana and the avocado, right? Well, I realized the whole thing, to take out the bag and take out take out all the pieces, it took me about 10 minutes. But then I realized if I can like get 10 little jars and like put all the stuff in once a week, that takes me about 15 minutes. And then it cuts my time in a third on a day-to-day basis when I'm making my shake. So that's an example of batching, that even if you're creative and highly creative and want to be spontaneous, the thing is, when you're really spontaneous and you're just like, I feel like doing this, and then you do that thing, it takes a lot of time. But if you batch a topic, you batch a group of things, you batch some tasks, the reason that creative women wind up loving it is because it frees them up to then do the really fun stuff they love to do. And that's the whole thing. Creative entrepreneurs, like, they don't want to be freaking writing their content. They don't want to be posting on Instagram. They don't want to be like calendaring and doing, their checkbook, their bank account. Like, they want to be doing the big idea stuff. And that's really what they want time for. And so if you can kind of batch this stuff, it's almost like you do the distasteful thing for a shorter amount of time, and then it frees you up to do all the more fun stuff.
Yeah, because actually that's why we're going into business, to be able to do the things that really fill us and
Yes.
fill that purpose and fill that why. That's why we put the good thing out there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that analogy, because I go like, oh yeah, my husband just bought me one of those small mixers because he's tired of me making the big one and making a mess all the time, and I'm going like, oh yeah, now maybe what I could do is have the top piece of it and just fill it, so I can do, because I love that. But that's a repetitive thing that you,
Repetitive tasks. Yes.
yep. And how can you consolidate that so that it can alleviate and free up the time to do what you really want to do?
Yeah, because this batching mentality that I have saves me a lot of time, but it also saves me a lot of energy, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because when you're like task switching all the time, like say you were like, I'm going to answer my emails right now. And oh, now, you know what, I'm a little bored, because entrepreneurs get bored fast from boring tasks. Oh, now I'm answering my emails, but also I wonder what's going on TikTok. Let me go open up TikTok for a while. And now, oh, right, I still have to write that video script. And oh, now I need to record it. And all of that task switching sucks up a lot of time. And so the more that you can have everything in one place and just get it done. And of course, this takes, again, practice in building that muscle, but that is just, again, a lot of time saved. But you gotta have to, it's like, remember before we were talking about training other people to not interrupt you. This is training yourself not to interrupt yourself.
You know, as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about, this is the whole reason that I got an office outside of my home when I started my business, because I didn't want to stay home. Oh, the dogs need to go out. Oh, there's the laundry. Oh, there's, you know, I wanted to be able to be, again, going back to your word, intentional about what I was doing and the work that I wanted to put out in the world, so that I could be able to concentrate. Yeah, I know I get a little side, you know, here and there, but the reality is that it's being focused on that intentionality, on that task that you're doing and putting it out there. Love that.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think the thing I really want to say about this task, I sound like a little bit like Forrest Gump. Like I really want to say, what I have to say about that is, I feel like we have to be gentle with ourselves, because we have so many habits in place. I'm not going to call them bad habits. I'm going to call them habits that don't really, you know, serve us. They don't move us toward our goals. And so we have to be gentle and nice to ourselves, because we are literally rewiring our brain, and it doesn't happen easily.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, as I was on my journey before I left my job, I studied some resiliency and positive psychology, and I studied with some great minds. And one of the things is you end up saying gentle on ourselves, because we end up beating ourselves up that we didn't get this done, we didn't get that done. And one of my teachers, Tal Ben Shahar, talks about permission to be human.
Yeah.
You know, permission to give yourself, yeah, you got to stay on task, you got to get this thing, but you know, sometimes things happen. Permission to be human. And then on the other side, Maria Serwa was permission to be magnificent. So as you are giving yourself permission to, you know, to be gentle, to be human, but at the same time, turn it around, and how can you now put that time into being magnificent? So I love that.
It's so beautiful, because a lot of times, and this is a deeper topic for another day, but a lot of times we are not aware of it, but we're self-sabotaging with our time, because we're terrified, like, what actually happens when I achieve this goal? Who's going to feel bad? How much time is it actually going to take when I get there? And so we actually are often subconsciously, you know, making these choices so that we never actually get there.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Barb.
I was just going to say, but again, going back to what you were talking about earlier, getting into your purpose, getting into your why, setting that intention will help you overcome some of this.
That's so true. The gentle part is also to not just be gentle that you haven't gotten it all done, or that it's not perfect. It's that sometimes you have to be gentle just by being aware, like, oh, there I am again, doing this thing that I always do. I'm fascinating. My brain is fascinating. Look at that. Instead of beating yourself up, which is what most of us do. We like brutalize ourselves. And so this batching, if it's a new idea to you, practice with some really low hanging fruit, like your morning oatmeal, right? Or something that really you can do that doesn't have a lot of weight to it, so that you can practice. Again, like training yourself.
Yeah. So I just want to just put it out there, please, out on Facebook, and also ladies that are on this Zoom call, please, if you have any questions or just want to add a comment, we really would like to hear from you. Just raise your hand or put it into the chat box, please.
Or even if this is resonating, you know, like, does this make sense to you? Is this, you know, is this helpful? For sure. That's what I would love to know. Yeah. The last piece that I want to share today is, you know, we try to manage time, and we're really just trying to manage ourselves and our minds. So I've talked about like the intention, the purpose. That's the first thing we talked about. The second thing that we talked about is looking ahead, you know, like, and also what can you offload once you've looked ahead, planning to look ahead. The third thing is batching, but the fourth thing is probably the most important, which is your energy management. And by that, I mean, there's stuff on your to-do list, there's stuff on your calendar. And do you know what time of day or what time of the week or what time of the month is actually best for you to do that type of work? So I'll give you an example from my own life. Weirdly, I have my most creativity, like I said, in the early morning. And then I have no idea why, but Friday afternoons at 2 p.m., I'm super creative. And that is a great time for me to write content or to create a training for somebody. I don't know. Everybody else has a piece of luggage on Friday, but I get excited about Friday afternoons. So actually, I have carved out Friday afternoons as my time to do that kind of creative work. It's a non-negotiable time on my calendar. And so when you have to do one of these tasks that feels arduous to you, when is best for you? Because for a lot of women, actually, some around their cycle, they're either more creative around their cycle or they're less creative around their cycle. Also for some people, like they have an expectation of themselves, especially if they have kids, that they should be getting their work done. Like, oh my God, well, dinner's in, I'm going to get this, I'm going to answer emails. And you also feel like you're the worst mom in the world because you're ignoring everybody. Is that really the best time energy wise for you to do this thing? Maybe it'll take you 45 minutes, but if you did it during a time when you had energy and focus, could it take you 20 at a different time of the day or the month or the week? So this is really about acknowledging, because I actually don't think a lot of people think about this. Your energy matters. And there are definitely people in the world, my husband is one of them. I call him the Tin Man because I'm like, hello, is there anything even happening in here? Clank, clank. His energy is always like this, like the world does not affect him, but the world affects me greatly. And my energy can really ebb and flow. And when I started to tune into like, I don't have it in me for that. I just don't have it in me for that. When will I have it in me for that? My whole life changed. And so I'd love for you to think about the things on your list that are like super hard. When would actually feel good to do them? And do you have that on your calendar? Barb, how does that resonate for you?
Well, there are certain times, but I'm like a Friday afternoon, I want to pack it up, but I do have sometimes every other week I have a standing client at 3 o'clock. And, but I wanted to know, how did you figure out that 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon was like your time to do that? So how did you hone in on that?
If you start listening to your body and your brain, not the like nasty inner critic voice that's always like, you should be doing this, what's wrong with you? But the real like desire that kind of bubbles up in you. And how did I figure it out? Like it took me years of tuning in. So I will say that in my first business, like I said, I used to be a high school teacher. When you're a high school teacher, you have to be in your classroom at 7:27 and you can't leave to 3:06. And like, that's just, and you have like fourth period lunch at 10:28 in the morning. Like I didn't really have a sense of my energy. This is what I had to do every single day. And then when I became an entrepreneur, I suddenly had all of this like crazy freedom, which only like time expanded, which only meant like, oh, I had so much more crap to do. I was like filling the days from sun up to sundown and beyond. And that wasn't working. So then I just like had no option except to say, I'm totally burned out. I can't work 17 hours a day, even though there's like 17 hours worth of work to do in the day. Like that's just not sustainable. And so I started to tune into like, when was my brain excited for something? And like I was saying about my morning routine, my brain is excited in the morning to write. Okay, fine. All right, fine. I will acknowledge that and give you the 30 minutes. That's all I can give you at that point. But it was kind of like, I also noticed some logical things. Like if I had something on Friday afternoons, like a coffee with a friend, I would feel a little resentful about that because my brain really wanted to do something else. So it was just kind of acknowledging and noticing and not judging, and then like figuring out what that really was.
And I think what I ended up hearing is you also give yourself permission to recognize that that's your time. and
Yeah.
that you can move in there and really being in tune with that energy. Because, I think about we as entrepreneurs, where do we want to put our energy? Instead of
Yeah.
maybe taking a look at it as time, where do we want to spend our time? Where do we want to spend our energy?
Energy. Mhm. And that
And
goes like, it's all kind of circular because then it goes back
it
to our intention, right? And I think here might be a good place to talk about something that I don't, again, think a lot of entrepreneurs think about, especially at the beginning of their journeys, which is being introverted as
mm,
an entrepreneur. Because
mm,
for the world is such, it's built for extroverts. It's noisy. You feel like it's death by a thousand cuts. You're packed all day long. And then you need that recharge time. Introverts really need that recharge time. And they don't always get it because then they shift from doing their business to maybe taking care of a family member or like children. And so one of the most important things is to acknowledge, like, I will say it was very hard for me to admit that I was burned out in my, it was so embarrassing for some, like, oh, you screwed that up, Jen. Like you got burned out. Oh, you did the thing that all the entrepreneurs do. But when I admitted that I had depleted my energy, it was very freeing because then I could start to take care of it. And it's something that actually, when I teach building blocks, I talk about this a lot because, you're told as an entrepreneur, you should be meeting people. You're supposed to be networking, get out there and collaborate, do more, meet more people.
mhm.
And if you're an introvert, that just sucks the life out of you. So in terms of energy management, it's knowing, even this is true for extroverts, right? Because I'm extroverted, but there are still things that will deplete me that I just don't do anymore. So I think understanding what those things are in the world that make you so worn, not even just physically fatigued and tired, but like worn down, resentful, dreading. Like if you're feeling those things, it's a clue. And this I've actually never really talked about publicly, but there was a time in my first business when so it was a fitness studio and I had been working it for 3.5 years at that point, and I was very burned out and depleted, but I didn't know it. Afterward, my husband and my best friend both said, oh, we haven't like seen you, this version of you, in a long time. But so I was kind of in the middle of it and couldn't see it. And a colleague, a friend of mine who owns a yoga studio at that time, had sent out an email saying that she was selling her yoga studio and completely getting out of the fitness business. And my response was jealousy. And I'm not a jealous person. And so it was a clue to me to tune into, like, what is that about? Oh, it took me a little while, but I'm like, oh, you're ready to be done with this business. You're ready to be done with the fitness world. And again, it's that tuning into what's actually like energetically or emotionally happening for you. And then thinking about, again, how is this serving me? What's my intention? So of course, then my time management came all about like, how am I going to extricate myself from this? But I do think that energy management is something that is highly tied up in how we spend our time. And there is an ethos out there, especially in the entrepreneurial world, of pushing and hustling. And I just don't buy it anymore. We can't hustle because it doesn't last. You can hustle and tap dance for a little while, especially at the beginning. You kind of feel like you have to. But then if you are not harnessing your energy and your time, you're just on the road to, I always say, I feel like I was, by the end of that burnout, I was like a little crispy piece of Brussels sprout that if you just like blew on her, she would just like go into the ethers. So I do hope that helps some people who might not have heard that before, that like your energy really matters when you're growing a business.
Well, there's two things that you brought up, Jen, and I just love. I consider myself to be an extrovert, but I also think that during the pandemic, because of not being able to go out and stuff like that, I have become a little bit more of an introvert.
Ooh,
But it's also like recognizing that as an entrepreneur, I've got to really take care of me, because again, I don't have all that energy to just kind of like, it's about me, my business, my why. What is it that I really want to put out. So I love, 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 love that perspective of being an introvert.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when you were talking about, you got that little jealousy about your friend giving up the yoga studio, was about accepting where she was at. And that, and then, and that to me is like, yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, how can we just take a look at where we're at and just accept where we're at? And it's a little burnout. Okay, so what are we going to do with it? And start pivoting, and what do we need to change? And because that's what we do as entrepreneurs. So I just really need to end up saying I love the introvert, and I love the piece about accepting where you're at. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I didn't have these words in my first business. I didn't really understand how much introverts need to recharge. I also didn't understand empaths and how exhausted by the world that they are, and why it's so hard for them to have that energy that goes like this, like I was talking about my husband before. And highly sensitive entrepreneurs, HSEs, they are like, the world just pecks away a little bit harder. And if that is you, there's no need to apologize for it or shy away from it. It like, step into ownership of it, and your time management will suddenly feel a lot easier for you.
Yeah, yeah. Your energy management. Where is
Yes.
it going? Oh. So my friends on Facebook, my friends here in the Zoom, any comments, any questions that you'd like to ask of Jen? Here's your time. And we're really, really hoping that you really enjoy it, because I love this talk, Jen. This was great. So
I'm
thank
so
you.
glad.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to say to wrap it up before we close out, Jen?
Yeah, there's this question that my husband, the Tin Man, asks me all the time, which is, he really likes for us to have realistic expectations for ourselves. Like, there's our goals and our dreams, and they're out there and they're written down, and we're keeping them in the back of our brain. But when it comes to the day to day, what does your to-do list look like? Are you killing yourself with a to-do list that's just a mile long and it just follows you around every day? Would it be more realistic for you to pluck 3 things and put that on a sticky note and feel really good about that? So what are your realistic expectations? And the second question my husband asks me all the time, which drives me bonkers, but it's a good one. What are we optimizing for? What is the, I have said to him, have you ever considered, not being an entrepreneur anymore and going back to work in corporate America? And he's like, I'm optimizing for spending the most amount of time that I can with Jack. That's our son. And that's what he like, it's his intention. That's like what he's optimizing for. And what am I optimizing for in my business? I want a lot of freedom, and I want to teach, because that's what I love to do. So that means saying no to certain kinds of requests and saying no to certain kinds of jobs that people ask for me. Like, I don't want to do done for you copywriting, even though I could. I really want to teach you how to do it for yourself. So what are we optimizing for is a really foundational question that you can use this hour, this day, this week, in everything that you do.
Okay. Maritza's just said very helpful discussion. So again, Jen, anybody else? I'm just going to give one last round. Anybody have a question that they'd like to have answered? Raise your hand, speak, please. This is your power hour.
I know this isn't a traditional talk in like time management, which you might have thought would be about calendaring or planning, but what I have found is those are tactics. And what I'm asking you to think today about are strategies, which are the bigger things that drive the tactics. For example, if we're talking about the strategy of looking ahead, the tactic would be, okay, I open up my iCal or my Google Cal every night. Like, so just think bigger, because that's where it all really happens for you.
Right. Maritza, you came on. Go ahead.
Yeah, which is really good, because I wind up with the to-do list that's like this long. And trying to prioritize it, I just drive myself crazy trying to figure out, well, what should I do first, blah, 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 blah. But I like some of the suggestions that you made. It's like, what's my purpose here? What's my intention? How can I batch things together? So for me, I'm actually standing here looking at my desk going, or sitting, and there's like a recycle bag right next to me because I'm like clearing everything out that has nothing to do with anything that I want to do. It's like, it's gone.
Well,
That's so
and-
great.
Oh yeah, it's just like, I can't stand the clutter, first of all.
That's so
Yay,
But-
great.
Marissa.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on this desk that is just like, I don't really need to do this.
Oh, I love that. That really makes me so happy. Maritza, I think I recognize you from taking building blocks. Did you take a building blocks class with me once?
Probably. I've been
Okay.
doing classes in and out, depending on what comes up and what my calendar looks like.
Nice to see you again. You're an accountant, right?
No, I'm a pediatrician.
Oh, I got it wrong. Okay.
Sarissa, hi. And you came on camera. Would you like to make a comment at
Oh,
all?
you're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, you're still muted.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Now I got it. Okay. So my name is Surisha. I'm very new to WISE. Is it WISE or WISE? WISE, right?
Guys.
WISE. Okay. I'm a new realtor too, so planning to open my own business. So what are other classes do you guys offer for the beginners?
So Jen leads building blocks for small businesses. That's a great place to start because you talk, Jen, you talk really hitting about what the needs are and what's your target audience. So that really helps. We have the Power Hour that we try to do twice a month. And then there are a whole bunch of different, if you get on our newsletter, you can sign up for it through wisecenter.org. We offer one-on-one counseling, coaching, which I'm one of the counselors for the Wise Center. And then we are in our second cohort of putting on a business plan intensive. And there's always things in the pipeline that we're really developing and tools to be able to help women put their small businesses out in the world. We're here to support you. So
Okay.
check out the website at
Okay.
wisecenter.org and sign up for, you can sign up for the newsletter, sign up for counseling, and be able to take a look at all the events that are going on and get on the key is getting on the mailing list, because there's a lot of information that comes out on the newsletters. Plus, we also work with other organizations within the community to be able to get you some additional resources that you may need.
Okay. My other question is, are we, the future meetings will be in Zoom, or are we doing anything, or how was it before? Do we do anything in person, or it's always Zoom?
So we are currently, prior to the pandemic, yes, there were some, like we had like a lunch and learn or that went on during different times, and we had, during the day and during the week. But since then, because of the pandemic, we are doing this Power Hour. And then right now, the business plan intensive is a hybrid. We're doing, some people are coming in person and some people are online. We also, 2 weeks ago, we had an open house. Yay. We can see clients in the Wise Center, depending upon the counselor's time schedules and getting there. But what I would end up suggesting is you get on the mailing list. There is a place for you to sign up for counseling if you're interested, and then get all the information that you can. It's a great resource. When I first quit my job, my corporate job, that was like, the Wise Center was one of the first places that I went to really start getting connected with women in the community. You meet a lot of fantastic women, because what you heard here, it's not like you don't have to go it alone. I'm always saying that, don't go it alone. You can get a group of women here, you learn, you meet different things, and you find that you're going through the same thing. So this is a great place for resources and also getting connected with other women in the community.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Barb.
You're welcome. Well, with that, Jen, thank you. This has
You're
been
so
great.
welcome. I'm so glad.
Yeah, it was just wonderful. So ladies, again, go to the ycenter.org and hope to see you again on future power hours and also different events that we are having within the Y Center. And please, if you haven't taken Jen Liddy's building blocks, you're doing it. When are you doing it again? Next week or? is it
Yeah.
next? Yeah, I
It's
think
building blocks for starting a business, and we teach it twice a month. I also put, if you want to connect with me on socials, I'm mostly on Instagram and Facebook, and you can connect with me there. And if you want to just reach out and send me a message about a question that you had, something you didn't want to bring up in public today, go ahead and do that. I want you to understand that everybody has a different path and there is no one right way. So to compare yourself with the way somebody else is doing it, whether it's time management, getting through their day, running their business, is a complete waste of your time. So really make it your own.
Okay. Now, Carolyn just let me know that it's 11/2 next week is the next building blocks. And she's going to send out an email with a survey and the link to sign up for counseling after the event. So please take a look at that email and looking forward to seeing you all here in the future
Thanks,
events.
everyone. Thank you to everyone for your time today.
Thank you. It's a very informative. Thank you.
I'm so
Thanks.
glad.
Thanks,
Bye,
Jen.
everyone.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Jen, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. My pleasure.
It was,
Bye,
it
everybody.
was-
Hi.